With the latest release, Materiality is changing the way organizations store, manage, and use their data. We're going to focus on that use aspect for a moment and take a look at the DataViewer. This is an umbrella of about 20 different software applications designed by Materiality to help the engineer get the most out of their material data. We'll start with our login screen and go right to My Properties. When we find the material data that we're looking for, we simply click on the eyeball and it brings us automatically into the DataViewer. This is where it all starts. First, we can see our tests, we can see what results we have here, and if there's a graph, we can start to see the graph. Here we have some true tensile curve, engineering curves, and some summary data points as well, including our mean and standard deviation. From here, we can start to get more precise as we log in with our X scale and our Y scale. Here we can get very precise with what data we want to see and at what axis. So we can put in both our X axis as well as our Y min and max scales if we wanted to, and get a very precise view of our data. Once we see what we like, we can even take a snapshot of it and it'll create a nice PNG file for us, and we can apply this directly into our presentations or any other information we want to share with our colleagues. We can also go right to the data itself and take a look at all the data points that we used to create these curves. This will apply for the true curves as well as the engineering curves as well. But that's just the beginning. As we take a look at this data, we also have a complete series of tools along the left-hand side as well. The first one is the unit system conversion. We can convert this into international units so that not only can you use the data, but if you have colleagues that are in different areas of the world, they can access and use the data in their units as well. We have the share feature, which allows you to share this data as a file that you can send again to colleagues. Simply put in their email, put in your message, and send it off to them. If you click on this box, it immediately gives them access to the data if they have a Materiality account. You can also click this Excel button, and in about 5 seconds, it creates an Excel file that you can immediately access that has all the data points of all the replicates and all the legacy information as well. You can make a copy of this file and add this to your personal database. You could also go into review. Here we can actually send a message directly to the data source and ask specific questions. In this case, we know that the source here is DataPoint Labs. Here's your login information, and you can ask a specific question that's going to get right to the data source. You may get an answer in as soon as 1 hour or as late as 1 day. You also have access control of your data. Here you can make your data public. You can make it available to your work group. You could add individual users. You can make it private, and you could even make it hidden if you wanted to. That way, other people in the work group or outside the work group would never even see that the data exists. Much like your own file cabinet. You can even transfer ownership of the data. If you wanted someone else to have ownership of the data, you can simply put in their username and transfer the data to them. And you can also discard data. We don't like to do that here. Additionally, you also have a series of tools here. You have your material, which can give you as much or as little information as possible. As you see here, there's not a whole lot of information here, but you could have added information such as your MSDS information, your data sheets, your alias information. You could have had in your composition or your application information. There's a whole host of information that could have been added here, but that's all going to show up right here on the single tab. One of the most important features here is the data certificate. How often do we look at data and then we have to start to answer questions such as what type of technique was used, what was the standard that was used, what type of samples were used, what type of conditions were they done, and when was the test performed? With the data certificate, we answer all those questions. We can take a look at the technique and we can see the authority, the test method. We can take a look at the sample details. We can take a look at the specimen details. In this case, I can see that it was an E8 sheet type. There was no condition that was done here. I can see the width, the thickness, the gauge length, the temperature, the laboratory humidity. This case was at 46% relative humidity. And I can go look at the data source here as well. I can see that this was done at DataPoint Labs in December of 2001 using an Instron 5566 materials testing system that's accredited. This gives me a lot of confidence as I start to use this material data. You can also use the legal tab. Here you can add your own custom legal information that may be required by your organization. We have ours for the data source at DataPoint Labs, and Materiality has its own legal information as well. So that in a quick summary gives you all the new features that are available with the DataViewer. So that in a quick summary gives you some of the software that's available with the DataViewer. Once again, Materiality is changing the way organizations store, manage, and use their material data. Thanks for watching.